Welcome back to the Course Creation Incubator. I'm Gina Onativia, here to help you get your course done and out to market. And as an online course coach and digital strategist, one of my favorite aspects of course creation is to help coach experts and entrepreneurs through the recording process. Now, I caught the filming bug back when I worked for Tony Robbins and Vistage International. I love the challenge of delivering course content on camera in a way that really connects with your student. Now, for some of you, butterflies may come up right now when I'm talking about recording and filming your course. You might even dread this process. I'm here to relieve some of that anxiety and help you record with a bit more ease. I wanted to bring on a special guest to help you through any of the nerves that you might feel about recording your course. Chris Holloway from Infrastructure Productions is the guy I turn to whenever I'm filming my course creators or I want my students to know more about how to do filming the easy way. Together, we've been on a ton of shoots, including one big shoot that lasted over 2 months. I love Chris and Infrastructure because they're so patient, they're open, and they really know their stuff when it comes to filming and editing. Chris is also my go-to recording and editing expert for my 6-week accelerator. I bring him in on week 5 of the program. Now, Chris and I in this podcast have a really fun dialogue about some of the shoots we've done together, the distinctions we've learned along the way, and how to help you feel a little more confident on camera. Let's listen in. Chris, welcome to the podcast. So excited to have you on.
Awesome. Is this where you're gonna play a sound effect of people cheering? It's I like that.
I
like
guess
when
we could do something like that for the future. Thanks for
you get a video guy
thanks for
on,
the
you're
suggestion.
gonna already thinking about the edit.
Ooh,
You know what
I
I
like
mean?
it. I like it. You're thinking ahead. All right, we're talking about how to feel more confident on camera, and that's why we brought you on, and also to suggest improvements. Why do you think course creators get so nervous when they're in front of the camera?
I think it's the same reason everybody does, right? I mean, and it's just not a natural place to be in. Like being in front of a camera isn't what we do. I mean, as more people get phones and have cameras in their pockets and are doing Zooms, maybe that changes kind of the paradigm a bit. But I just think that course creators are human, and being nervous in front of the camera is something I relate to so much. And that's why I'm behind the camera all the time. So I just think it's just a sense of being, there's a human part to it.
Yeah.
It's just tough. It's tough to be in front of camera. We tell our talent that all the time, right, Gina? It's
Yeah, all
they've
the
got the
time.
hard job.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to walk through some tips today to, if you're listening right now and it's your first time in front of camera, or you've been in front of camera and you want to get better. Let's talk about, what do you usually recommend for first-time course creators who are filming, how to get them more relaxed or feel more confident, Chris?
Yeah, so I think this is a good question, right? Because I know there's a few things that we could go to. I thought the first thing that popped to mind for me was know your content, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're working with somebody who's helping you punch it up or whatever. And I've been on these shoots a lot where a lot of times, we'll help punch up a script or something, and they look at it and it's like they're seeing a distant relative that they kind of know, but are just haven't seen in forever. And it's just I think that kind of puts you behind the 8 ball. And so know that script, know what you're teaching. I know you, because it's your course, you feel it and you know it kind of intrinsically, but know the words that are going to come out of your mouth, because that's really important with you feeling comfortable saying those words.
Yeah, I agree.
Second thing that I would say is just practicing those scripts. So you've written them, you've got a familiarity with them, practice them. And when you practice them, what you want to do is you want to read them out loud. So many times, again, when people are finishing up their scripts the night before or the day of, in some cases, you then get the talent reading them, and they realize that things don't sound the way they do on the page out loud. And it's
Right.
really, really important to make sure that you're saying them out loud, and just making sure that you're comfortable with, they should sound how you talk.
Right. And I like to tell course creators, read through it out loud, because you might have never scripted something that you're reading out loud. This might be the first time, and you're going to be surprised by how you sound. Like, you're exactly right. People write differently sometimes than the way they would speak, and a lot of times we're more conversational when we talk, and that doesn't come across sometimes on the written script.
And it should, right? I mean, I think that I feel like, I think one of the greatest compliments I ever got was from a college screenwriting teacher. She said, "Oh, I like your dialogue because it sounds like you talk, or sounds like how people talk." And I'm like, "Okay, that's good. That's a good thing."
That's
And
good.
the words that come out of your mouth should be yours. They shouldn't be somebody else's. They should be, even if you're taking somebody else's, like I said, you had somebody punch it up and you're kind of putting your own spin on it. That's great, but put your own spin on it.
Yeah, I agree. What would you say to someone, because I know this comes up a lot for us, Chris, who trips up, who does it's a little bit of hem and a hawn, or like I'm doing right now? What do you say to somebody who's filming that for their course?
I think that's fine. I think that there are parts where you can't, you know what I mean? Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
going down a list and you're kind of being prescriptive about like a certain technique, but if you're just in the flow of things, stay in the flow of things.
I
People
agree.
will forgive. People, nobody really wants a robot just spitting things out at them. So, so know what's important, know what you got to nail, but for the parts you don't worry about it.
Right, and we're our worst critics, right? And there's things that we're not even going to catch. Now, I will say this with a caveat: we have filmed with different course creators who might have a tick, right? Or might have something that might have been unconscious that they're doing that they're not realizing. So I do suggest, and I know you suggest this too, that you film yourself like a sample video, you send it to a friend, you send it to your course coach, right? And to review it. And I know my habits, I know my bad habits, and getting to know those and really working on those. What do you think about those, like those little ticks and things like that?
Absolutely. I think you need to. I mean, it's a tough. It's also like a tough problem, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes, like right now, I'm just, you can't see this because this is all audio. God, thank God. But I'm kind of rotating in my chair as I'm talking, and we actually just filmed something at a woman's residence where she was kind of going back and forth, and I thought it was fine. I think that I don't know if it's a bad tick. Yeah, you want to get rid of it, but sometimes I worry, especially with people that are maybe working on their MVPs, or, um, you know, or maybe it's their first time on camera, that you tell them about a tick that maybe you're nitpicking, and then
Mm.
all of a sudden, like, it gets in their
They're
head, and
focused
like,
on it.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
focused on it instead of delivering the content. So it's tough. I would say, yeah, I think you gave great advice though. Like, send it, do a test video, send it to your course coach, and let them take a look at it, and let
Yeah.
them tell you, like, if it's distracting, they'll let you know.
Yeah.
Send it to somebody impartial. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, um, just so they'll let you know. They will
Yeah.
let you know.
And another thing I love, so Chris and I mentioned in the intro, we've done a ton of shoots together for course creators. And one thing, hopefully, we do is we have just an extra person there who's just looking out for those kind of like ticks or outliers, because the shooter is focused on the frame and the audio guy is focused on the audio. I'm focused on the scripts or the teleprompter. So it's just really helpful to have that outside perspective. Chris, I don't know. Do we have a name for that person? Just
I think it's just on a set, it'd be like a hair and makeup person, right? Or, I mean, for last looks, I don't know. It's tough. It's like a detail person. It'd really be, that's a good question. I don't know necessarily how I try to think in terms of like sets, who would be that person. It's not a continuity person. It's not, I'm just going to,
I think it could be a content person who's just tracking the content too, right? Like not necessarily going for word on the scripts. So yeah, I know a lot of times you're doing that for audio, but just having that outside perspective. I want to talk to you a little bit about course creators who freeze up or feel a little bit wooden on camera, because you and I have seen plenty of course creators who are not exactly fluid the first time out, and need to kind of relax and get in the flow a little bit, like what do you recommend to help us if we're feeling like a little wooden or a little frozen?
Yeah, I think that beforehand, I think you do all those things that we talked about above. You know, you
Yeah.
practice,
You know your
um,
content,
you know your
you
content,
prepare, you read
you
it out
prepare.
loud. Yep.
You know, also, and I'd add on to that, like, wear something you're comfortable in. A lot of times
Yep.
people like, you know, like go out and they buy stuff. Don't wear something that's stiff. Wear something that makes you feel, because you don't want to feel stiffer. You
Yeah.
know, like you want to feel like loose. So even if it's new, just make sure it's like something that you're like, okay, well, this is going to look great, but also I'm going to feel great in it. So like, I think that's a good thing that'll help you kind of feel more comfortable. But if you're in it, just breathe, take a moment. Like nobody, you know, if you've hired a crew, yeah, you know, you're kind of at the constraints of their day, you know,
Yeah.
like of the time that they've allotted or that you've paid them to be there. If you're doing an MVP and maybe you're filming yourself or you're having your partner do it or whatever, there's an infinity, you know, there's a deadline of when you need to get your course out for sure, and I'm sure that's something that you stress to them all the time.
Yep.
But you know, in that day, just take your time, take a walk, take a
Yeah.
break, you
Get
know,
out of
because
your
sometimes,
head, right?
oh, absolutely, yeah, get 100% out of your head. um you know, think of your family, your loved ones, just breathe. You know, I
Yeah.
think you just do simple things like that, what you would do if you've got a little anxiety, you know, like just take those things and just do it, and I think that'll help you loosen up. I will say this is more of a CEO problem, right? CEO and elected
Yeah.
officials are,
And Chris has filmed a lot of CEOs and elected officials. It's less about, right, the typical expert or course creators. We get a lot of people who are filming for the first time and are pretty darn good, I
oh
think, for the
great,
first time
yeah,
out.
charismatic, you
Yeah.
know, and oh
They're
man,
experts for a reason. Honestly, they're teaching courses for a reason. And if you're listening right now and you're building your course, like I'm sure you have a charm that we want you to bring to camera. But I want to go back to what you're talking about, wardrobe. And we get a lot of people who say, oh, should I buy a ton of new stuff? And Chris and I always say, like, go into your closet and pick what's on brand for you, what makes you feel good, like what you were just saying, Chris, and wear that. And you could vary your outfits. Like we love to like change them up per module, but don't feel like we actually don't love it when you buy a new wardrobe before you film, because you don't know how it's going to film, you don't know how it's going to look, like the straps go off your shoulder, or something weird happens with your clothing, and you want to make sure that you're running through those just like you're practicing your scripts. We want you to practice your wardrobe.
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, I think that that's a great that's a great note. And I will say this, if you get into a situation where you've got a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction, and maybe there's just a tiny piece of an undershirt or a bra like poking through, that I put that in the same category as a
Yeah.
flub.
Yeah,
Let
I
it
would
go.
too.
Like
Right, let
it's
it
not,
go.
like you got to. You're gonna see your flaws 100% more than everyone else. Like if it's not material, like just let it go. You know, it's just don't. Yeah,
I agree. I had a course creator who had a mug that she didn't want in the shot. Like she had a random mug. She's like, "Oh, I shot 3 videos with this mug," and I'm like, "Nobody knows you weren't supposed to have that mug there." You know, so right? Doesn't that happen all the time where people are like, the shot wasn't perfect, I forgot about this? It's like nobody knows that. They
nobody knows. That's I just had that conversation with some on a narrative thing that I was working on with somebody, and I was like, nobody knows that that's not supposed to be. Nobody knows. The audience not privy to all the information. They're there for your course.
right.
I mean, you know. So yeah, don't just let it go. Just feel
Let it
good.
go. So we're already talking a little bit about this, but I did want to talk about some of the biggest mistakes that we've seen, and we've seen some doozies over the year. Like we've seen some wonderful shoots, and then we've seen some big mistakes. And I think one of them is trying to jam too much in, either with a full crew, or just like you mentioned, doing it with your husband or your wife and filming, and thinking that we can get more done in a session. Yeah, if you Chris is nodding his head, and by the way, he has a porn stash on right now. So
I think it's a fireman stash. Is the
oh, it's a
technical term.
fireman stash.
Somebody told me, a friend told me she was all, yeah. So the bigger the stash. I got 2 great stash stories. I'm sorry, I'm digressing. All right. So a friend told me, she's like, oh yeah, the higher you get up on the ladder, this is the
Hmm.
thing, I guess, the larger your stash is supposed to be too. We filmed
Oh.
this walk for veterans suicide awareness out in Oceanside.
Oh,
Had to hike
nice.
8 miles with gear. Uh, that was and on what as now is still like the hottest day of the year because of course, right? Out in Oceanside. And there was a group of guys out there, veterans, I think Marines that had stashes. They had shirts on. They said Team Stash. I was
Yeah.
walking along. They gave me this poker chip that said Team Stash on. They're like, we want to
Oh,
invite you to
a poker game?
join the team. No, the team,
Oh,
Team Stash. And I was like,
that's
that was
that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah,
You know,
made it all worth it.
I have to say that crews endure the worst stuff. Like you guys, you're first guys in, first men and women, first people in, for last people to leave, and you guys work incredibly hard. So I always want you to. So Chris mentioned MVP earlier, minimum viable product. That's what I want for you. So you wouldn't necessarily hire a crew like infrastructure the first time out, but you work yourself up. And there's nobody better than these guys. So, but we're talking about mistakes. So I know we got a little off track. What are some of your favorite mistakes that you see?
Well, I think this goes back to like the mistakes you make are the things that it all ties together, right?
Yeah.
The mistakes you make are the things that make you feel nervous or,
Mm-hmm.
don't allow you to teach the way you want to teach or present this content that we want to teach. So not scripting fully is a big one, right? So like
Yeah.
you need to be fully scripted. Don't be figuring it out on the day of your shoot.
Yep.
That's a tough look. Sometimes, I think back to a creator that we had that she was kind of like figuring on the day of the shoot. I think, honestly, her charisma kind of like closed that gap, but she had really great charisma. And that's not something
unbelievable. Like she had
off the charts. Bill Clinton in 92,
I was going to say Oprah or Tony Robbins, but Bill Clinton in 92 works too. Like that reference. But you're absolutely right. Like she had the personality to kind of fill in the blanks. And even though it was frantic, like she was literally in between takes doing edits. And then each night would do like 5 or 6 or 7 scripts for the next day. So it was stressful for us, but it didn't show up on camera for her.
What's funny is that applies to like multiple people that we've worked with.
I know I'm thinking of one story. You're probably thinking of another creator right now. So, but I think the best shoots that we've done though, and even like the DIY we've done smaller shoots too, are the ones where people are prepared and they know, but also give themselves room to riff a little bit and to open up like, oh, I want to talk a little bit more about this and go into this story. Great. Like give yourself, I think Chris and I are trying to say, practice and be prepared, but give yourself the flexibility to add the richness as you see fit if you're comfortable with that. And some people aren't comfortable at first and they can get more and more comfortable with that.
Yeah, which is why, one of the tricks that we do for feeling comfortable is we don't film chronologically. Like we never film chronologically. You never film. Yeah. So you're never filming the intro as the first thing you're doing, so you kind of like, if it's a 5-module course, you start with 3 or 4, like start something a little bit, that's a little bit of a layup for you, or something that's easier. And it kind of gets you some momentum going.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I know a lot of people are surprised when we mention that to them. We say we're start the middle. Hell, even when I'm teaching the 6-week accelerator students to script, we don't start at the beginning either. Even when we're scripting, we start in the middle just to get comfortable, just like the same principles applies when we're filming, right? So we want you to feel comfortable. We want you to work up to the big intro where people are seeing you for the first time, or the sales video. So we want you to build that momentum and get comfortable and get all your wiggles out, right? What about backdrops? So I know people struggle with this too. Like, what kind of backdrop should I have? Do I need multiple backdrops? Like, what do you tell people when they're starting out?
If you can, I mean, it's great. I mean, try it. So much of this stuff, I think, and the challenge when you're talking about backdrops is like, it's really equipment dependent. Like, what are you filming on? Like, what are you using to capture your course?
Phone, probably. Like a lot of people starting out.
Yeah. So like maybe you've got a phone, you've got a couple soft boxes, like bookcases, you know what I mean? Like just something interesting try to find something interesting, but don't stress too much on it. I just don't like flat up against a flat wall.
Yeah, me too. We like texture. We're always stealing from other rooms. Like we film in a lot of houses, right, Chris? So, or when we used to film in hotels, like we just steal things off the walls or the lobby. It's like that's our thing. We borrowed things from the gift shop once. So they let us, because there was these beautiful like fixtures and vases like on top, vases. No, they weren't selling them. They were decorative. So we borrowed like 4 or 5 of those items and made a backdrop. Like get creative.
Yeah,
You
bring your
know?
houseplant in, right? Like, you
Right.
know, not too between two ferns, but like, you know, um, just I feel like we've all done enough Zoom calls,
Yes.
that we know what an interesting backdrop. This is the funny thing. Like when we first started doing this accelerator, there was a lot of like uh, education going on in terms of like backdrops, but I feel like people know now. Like there's that
Yeah,
Twitter
people have it
account,
dialed
rate my
in now.
backdrop, and like like, and so like people, everybody's so kind of hip to filming, like being on these Zoom calls that it's kind of made us all a little bit better in terms of like composition. That and the phones, just having a phone, and
Yep.
it's just really helped in terms of like choosing a backdrop. If you can do multiple, that's great too. I would say my last thing on that is like, I think it's always cool when like it ties into what you're teaching. If you can
Yeah,
bring in, maybe it's a
I love that.
prop or
Mhm.
something, maybe it's a little bit of a background that kind of ties into what you're doing. I always get a kick out of that.
So I do want to bring up Melissa Goodwin is a incredible course creator that you helped film over 3 days, and Melissa has a 6 week course where each is a different theme: soul, relationships, money, home. And I loved how she changed her outfit, right? So the outfit always corresponded to the theme, and then we changed up the backdrops and the colors, right, accordingly. And I thought that worked really well.
And with Melissa, what I thought was cool about her sense of fashion was that it tied into, like, she's a successful kind of like business consultant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's also got this real like gangbusters YouTube channel where
Right.
she's teaching people like how to go find deals out at like at like
Target.
Nordstrom Rack and like
Yeah.
Target, and so like her having a sense of fashion, I thought really was like, it was just her one, right? And that kind of goes back into like being yourself,
Right.
but also tied into really well into like who her channel, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah,
I
that
loved it.
audience. Yeah, that was
I
great.
thought she did. And what I loved about it too, Chris, was we didn't change the backdrop. It was the same frame of the shot. We just changed out the colors of the pillow. Or like if there was candles or if the flowers changed out. Not every shot, right? Not every module, but accordingly, and we didn't overdo it. But I thought I thought it was tasteful, right? And fun. And it brought a little bit more fun to the product.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Well, we are at time. We have to do our accelerator this week, actually. So, Chris is one of my experts that I bring on for the 6 week accelerator. We're going to talk all about recording this week. So, we're going to have part two, a part of our process then. But do you have any final tips before you leave us, Chris?
Final thoughts before, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like we covered a lot of ground. So I would just say, be yourself. And it's,
Yeah.
it's such like like a den father, pack leader, like, like saying, but yeah, just find a way to be yourself. I know a lot of your students have a background and have such an expert background in what they're
Hmm.
doing, and they've taught it and they've presented. Be that person. Be that
Yeah.
person that connects. Like, be that person that brings that passion that you have for your content, and just transfer it. Just,
Yeah.
it's contagious. So like,
Yeah. And don't feel like you have to turn on something when you're on camera because we've seen that too. Right? We're like, whoa, where did you go? Where did you go? Right? So they became a different person. Like, just bring you. So that's a awesome final tip. And how can we learn more about infrastructure productions and about what you do?
you can check out our company, Infrastructure Productions, at infdv.com. Hopefully that'll be in the notes under this or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
We'll put it
you
in the
can,
notes.
yeah, we're at infdv, I believe, on Instagram. Our YouTube channel is also accessible infrastructure, production. So we're in a lot of different places. We do all the socials, as the kids say. Um, and if you're doing a course, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Always happy to answer course creators' questions. And also, we do a lot of post-production work. So if you've got some footage that you don't know how to do work with, or you need some help with, we'll do everything we can, to help you out with that as well.
Okay, love it. So check it out. We'll put that in the show notes. Thanks for being on, Chris. Thanks for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This was fun. This is a kick. And if people aren't sick of my voice yet, I'll be on the accelerator for any of you accelerator students. And
yes, any accelerators listening, Chris is next. Okay, yeah. Thanks, right. Chris.
Thanks, Gina.
How do you feel about recording your course now? Do you feel a little more at ease? Are you feeling a little more confident? I like what Chris has to say about simplifying the process and not being too hard on yourself, and giving yourself the space to really flow while you're recording. Check out Chris and the infrastructure guys at infdv.com and let me know how you're doing with recording your course. Drop me a line in Insta at Course Creation Boutique. I'll be back next week to talk about planning. More specifically, you and I are going to do a mid-year gut check for your business. Please rate and review this episode and then subscribe. I'd love to get the word out about this podcast so you and I can help build up our course creator community. Until next week, go create, be you and be brilliant, and get it done.